The Mets have collapsed once again. In 2021, the Mets suffered a second-half collapse, becoming the first team in history to spend over 100 days in first place and still finish below .50. Atlanta, who overtook them, went on to win the World Series. In 2022, the Mets held a 10.5-game lead as of early June, but again surrendered first place to Atlanta. The Mets spent 178 days in first, compared to Atlanta's 9 days. In 2023, the Mets recorded the league's first-ever luxury tax-exceeding payroll, but still failed to make the postseason. Last year, 2024, the situation flipped. The Mets started 24-35 through June 2nd, but then posted the best record in MLB and snuck into the postseason on the final day. Though they fell to the Dodgers in the NLCS, they became the first team since the 2019 Nationals to reach the division series after being below .50 during the season. This year also started strong. By June 12th, the Mets were 45-24, the best record in baseball, and held a 5.5-game lead over the Phillies. But from then on, they went 38-55, one of the worst records in MLB over that span, worse than Colorado, Washington, and even Oakland. On September 5th, after beating Cincinnati, the Mets were tied with San Diego for a playoff spot, with a 96.6% postseason probability. The very next day, they started a 9-game losing streak. Even with 9 games left, their playoff odds were still 89.8%, but they were ultimately overtaken by Cincinnati at just 8.8%. Had the Mets simply won their final game, they would have clinched a playoff spot. Instead, they went 0-for-8 with runners in scoring position and lost 0-4 to Miami. Milwaukee's victory opened the door, but the Mets slammed it shut on themselves. The collapse was even more shocking given the payroll. At $342 million, the Mets ranked second only to the Dodgers. By contrast, the 3 Yankees, 4 Phillies, 5 Blue Jays, 6 Padres, and 7 Red Sox all reached the postseason. Since last year, spending has strongly correlated with playoff success, but not for the Mets. To understand why, we must look at Milwaukee. From 2018 to 2023, the Brewers had the 5th best cumulative winning percentage, behind only the Dodgers, Astros, Yankees, and Braves, despite ranking just 24th in payroll. Craig counseled to a record 5-year, $40 million deal with the Cubs in 2024. Former Brewers GM David Stearns also moved to the Mets on a 5-year, $50 million contract. Stearns, a Harvard-educated Mets fan with Jewish roots, was viewed as the franchise's perfect fit. Though his Brewers lost 5 straight postseason series, ownership trusted his system. In his first year, Stearns' Mets dramatically snuck into October. Then came the winter. The Mets signed Juan Soto for $765 million. With no deferrals, they had to tack on an extra $40 million in anti-opt-out guarantees, bringing it to 15 years, $805 million. After that, they avoided big-ticket free agents and focused on pitching. Shota Imanaga, 3 years, $75 million. Clay Holmes, 3 years, $38 million. Frankie Montas, 2 years, $34 million. The Imanaga deal was the largest pitching contract of the Stearns era, but true to his pitchers break easily philosophy, Stearns resisted mega contracts for arms. Bullpen additions were modest. A.J. Minter 2 years, $22 million, and Ryan Stanek 1 year. Early on, it worked, even with Mania and Montas on the IL. By June 12th, the Mets rotation near a ranked No. 1 in MLB. Kadai Senga, 13 GS, 7-3, 1.47 ERA. David Peterson, 14 GS, 9-5, 2.60 ERA. Clay Holmes, 14 GS, 7-3, 2.87 ERA. Griffin Canning, 12 GS, 6-2, 2.90 ERA. Tyler Megill, 13 GS, 5-3, 3.76 ERA. But it all unraveled after June 13th, when Senga was injured trying to stretch for an Aaron Pete Alonso throw. He returned a month later, went 0-5 with a 5.90 ERA over 9 starts and never recover, ultimately sent to the minors to rebuild his mechanics. On June 14th, Megill went down with an elbow injury. On June 26th, Canning tore his Achilles and was lost for the season. Holmes slumped to a 4.12 ERA, Peterson ballooned to 5.93. And the rotation crumbled. Mania returned July 13th but went 1-3 with a 6.16 ERA. Montes made just 7 starts, 3.22, 6.68 ERA before needing Tommy John surgery, making his $34 million deal a sunk cost, though he still holds a $17 million player option for next year. The cheap depth approach backfired. Prospects called up to patch the rotation flopped. Brandon Sproat, 4.79 ERA, inconsistent command. Jonathan Surname unclear, 2.23, 7.71 ERA, McLean, the only rookie who provided value. By June 10th, the Mets' rotation was no. 1 in ERA. By year's end, it ranked 27th. At the deadline, high-priced starters were out of reach, so the Mets doubled down on bullpen arms, trading significant prospects for Ryan Helsley, Tyler Rogers, and Gregory Soto. But Helsley and Soto faltered. Rogers was solid but not transformative, and the bullpen fell from 11th to 17th in ERA after the deadline. Juan Soto, meanwhile, was both savior and scapegoat. After a mediocre first half RISP ops .720, he caught fire in the second, 1.06 for ops, but in the final game, he hit into a double play in the third and popped out in the seventh, sealing the loss. He also stirred controversy by saying, "It's hard without protection behind me." In 2023 with the Yankees, Soto had a 1.16 ops in high-leverage situations. This year, it fell to .87. The Mets spent massively on Soto, but their rotation collapsed from injuries and underperformance. Their bullpen reinforcements under-delivered, and their prospect depth wasn't ready. Even if Soto maintains elite production, his $51 million AAV contract could cripple the team's payroll flexibility for years to come.